Namaste everyone! So this is the next video from our Nakshatra series, which is going to be dedicated to Purvashadha Nakshatra, which is located at the very heart of sidereal Sagittarius and is the nakshatra ruled by Venus. Now the deity presiding over Purvashadha Nakshatra is the Vedic goddess of waters, all waters, called Apa Devi. But that very same goddess is actually sometimes identified with Mother Saraswati, the goddess of art, creativity, knowledge, and all wisdom. Actually, the very name of Goddess Saraswati really reveals, her true nature and reveals her flowing nature, because Sara actually means the essence of something. So Saraswati is the goddess of this ever-flowing knowledge, ever-flowing energy, and ever-flowing inspiration. And of course, some of those qualities will be also reflected through Purvashada natives. The Shakti of Purvashada Nakshatra is called Varchograhana Shakti, which literally means the power to invigorate, to have more energy, more vigor, more enthusiasm. Because that's what waters do, right? They invigorate us. When you are really tired and you go and take a nice relaxing shower, suddenly you feel more energy, you feel less tired, because the waters purify us. Similarly, natives who are born with key placements in Purvashada Nakshatra will be often very energetic, at least about those spheres of life that these planets rule for them in their birth chart. Very often those natives, whatever they do in life, they do it with full energy and with full passion, which is actually a really beautiful quality about them. Of course, Purvashada is nakshatra ruled by Venus, which represents our heart chakra. And it's true, Purvashada natives, whatever they do, they always do it with their full heart. Purvashada natives are also known to be quite courageous, because like all nakshatras of Venus, Purvashada is an Ugra nakshatra, or a fierce nakshatra. So once those natives get really passionate about something, they can, go fully into that, and they have courage to go through all obstacles without any fear. Same like when you sometimes see river flowing in nature, when it encounters any obstacle on the way, like a stone or a plant, it just goes through it, right? It doesn't remove the obstacle, it doesn't fight the obstacle, it just goes through it. And that's also a really beautiful quality of Purvashada natives, is that they just don't give up too easily, usually. Now, Purvashada Nakshatra, although it's being ruled by the goddess of waters and by Venus, who is also a watery planet, this is actually quite fiery nakshatra. After all, it also dwells at the very heart of a fiery sign. So because of that, naturally those natives can be often a little bit impulsive as well. They're very dynamic in nature, can be very impatient too about certain things. So when it comes to their temperament, simply speaking, sometimes it's just very, very fast. And you can especially see that when Purvashada native is getting stressed about something or triggered a little bit, they will start talking even louder, even faster, Whenever they get stressed, they always have this sense of urgency inside of them that I need to do something as fast as possible, otherwise something really bad will happen. So this is one, quality for introspection and for looking in which areas of life perhaps you see yourself manifesting those qualities. Because the moment you start being mindful about them, naturally you are giving yourself a chance also to make different choices. So because Purvashada is a very fierce nakshatra, naturally those natives are also quite aggressive in whatever they're doing. And sometimes it can be really healthy aggression, They can have this energy to just give extra push to things, to make them just move forward a little faster. But the problem is that sometimes they tend to push a little bit too far and too fast. And of course, this is also something to have a look at, because otherwise this even healthy aggression can sometimes turn into toxic aggression, into suppressed anger and temper issues. So this is the shadow side of Purvashada Nakshatra that of course those natives need to look into, because especially for those natives, if they find themselves in life circumstances in which they can't express their anger, their frustration in a healthy way, they may really suffer deep inside. So it's very, very important for Purvashada natives to learn how to be with anger without being overwhelmed by anger. How to not suppress it, to the extent that it starts affecting your inner world way too much, but to not overexpress it either. Stay regulated. One other beautiful quality of Purvashada natives is that usually they are quite motivated people. Unless, of course, the nakshatra is obstructed heavily by any placement, normally planets dwelling there in Purvashada Nakshatra will be also the planets that give us a lot of motivation. And it's usually an intrinsic type of motivation. Purvashada natives usually don't need someone from around them to push them forward. They are themselves their own force pushing them forward. And they can be also that force for others too. So that's also one very, very strong side of Purvashada natives, that they can stay quite strongly motivated. However, because Purvashada means early victory, in contrast to Uttarashada Nakshatra, which is a little bit more, I would say, stable and grounded when it comes to its journey towards the goal, Purvashada natives, they are a little bit more impulsive. And because of that, sometimes when there are some obstacles appearing on their way towards their goal, their level of motivation may drop very quickly. But it may also rise back again very quickly. So in other words, Purvashada natives just experience a little more fluctuations with their motivation than Uttarashada natives, but usually they also are quite strongly intrinsically motivated to achieve their goals. Now, one thing that is very, very important for Purvashada natives is a purpose. If they don't feel a purpose behind doing something, they will feel deeply dissatisfied. They need to understand why they are doing something and what's the purpose behind it. And the thing is that sometimes, at least I have observed that natives who have big accumulation of planets in Purvashada Nakshatra, imagine like 3 or 4 planets in Purvashada Nakshatra, with lots of contrasting and confusing energies out there, for that type of natives, sometimes it's hard to find their life purpose. And the thing is that as long as they keep searching for that purpose, it's very hard for them sometimes to actually find this inner energy to move forward. And they can, in fact, manifest in such a situation a complete opposite of natural Purvashada energy. Instead of motivation, there will be demotivation. Instead of passion, there will be this more lethargic approach. So purpose is something really, really important for them, and it is truly what drives them and moves them forward. And because purpose is so important for Purvashada natives, naturally also their belief system, their faith, their spirituality, their religion is very important for them. And they usually try to act in alignment with that in all the spheres of their lives. They usually have very strong opinions and very strong belief systems and can be quite stubborn about it. In fact, they can be even sometimes fanatic about it. And truly, if you would look at some of world's most fanatic leaders, you will see Purvashada Nakshatra is quite strongly visible and occupied in their charts. So as much as having this really strong faith and being purpose-driven is a really beautiful quality, because after all, this is the nakshatra dwelling in the very middle of sidereal Sagittarius, which is original ninth house of beliefs and belief system. It's a beautiful thing to have strong beliefs, but the thing is that if our beliefs become outdated or if they become harmful, we should be also able to let go of them if needed and to have this certain amount of flexibility. So this is a very, very important quality for Purvashada Nakshatra natives in general to cultivate. Quality of tolerance, quality of flexibility. Same like water, which is always flowing. Also, because Purvashada Nakshatra dwells in the very heart of sidereal Sagittarius, original ninth house, sometimes Purvashada natives may become a little too idealistic about their beliefs. Almost like utopian, you know? It's like they try to always, strive towards some very, very high ideals, which are sometimes completely unrealistic. And this high idealism also can lead them to fanaticism, to being overly stubborn about their beliefs, to being self-righteous and believing that they're always right and their beliefs are the best and better than anyone else's. And this is a very dangerous type of thinking. So if you yourself have planets in Purvashada Nakshatra, it's very important that you pay more attention to that, because you may have this tendency to always want to have things your way. And that is what can often bring you to a lot of trouble. Purvashada natives are also among the most famous and best charismatic speakers. Again, if you make a little bit of research and check the most influential speakers, both positive and negative, of history, you will notice that Purvashada is very often very strong in those charts. Because, those natives are often so enthusiastic about what they believe, and they truly, sincerely believe with their whole heart, with their whole being, in what they are preaching. Precisely because of that, they can be incredibly charismatic and they can really influence masses quite easily. And needless to say, especially planets that are somehow related to speech, like Jupiter or Mercury, if they are dwelling in Purvashada Nakshatra, they will always give, extra eloquence and influence into one's speech. Knowledge and education are actually very important for Purvashada natives. They look at that a lot. They like to interact with intelligent and educated people, at least in their views. So generally, this purely mental knowledge is very, very important for them. And they pay a lot of attention to that. And they have often this intrinsic belief that everyone living in this world should know what is happening in this world, right? Should not be ignorant about where this world is heading. And very often Purvashada natives may see far more clearly all the things that are actually wrong with today's world, what everyone else misses out. So they are also very, sharp thinkers themselves. But the thing is that for Purvashada natives in particular, if you have planets placed there, of course, knowledge and education are important things. But know one thing, that with such a placement, always far more important thing will be for you in this lifetime to learn how to listen more to this eternal stream of knowledge inside of you, which is represented by Goddess Saraswati, this ever-flowing essence. And actually, Purvashada natives have access to that. They have access to this intuition, which is deep inside of them. But because it's so easy for them to sometimes enter this more active, passionate, Rajasic mode, they sometimes just don't have so much access to that. So especially if you have key placement in Purvashada Nakshatra, it's very important for you to not put too much value on external knowledge and learn to honor more your inner voice, your intuition. Now, needless to say, since it's Venusian Nakshatra and it's literally ruled by goddess who is sometimes identified with goddess Saraswati, Purvashada is a very creative nakshatra, and natives born with key placements in Purvashada Nakshatra, they are abundantly creative. Not just in one field, I'm not talking about having one hobby or something like that. They have all the time new ideas. They can be over creative even sometimes. They may do so many different things because often actually, if they would keep doing the same thing all the time, they would just become genuinely bored. For them to maintain a healthy level of stimulation, it's very important to actually be involved in more projects at a time, to have a certain diversity, because they get really not just bored, but even dissatisfied if they do tasks which are too monotonous or they're the same all the time. So these are people who are incredibly creative, and you can see them in arts. You will see loads of Purvashada natives in music as well. Because of course, goddess Saraswati is all about music as well, right? And the sound. They are often quite musically sensitive, even if they themselves don't perform. But they can appreciate, beautiful art. They can appreciate beautiful music too. And a beautiful thing about Purvashada natives is because goddess Saraswati literally, represents this descent of inspiration. They are quite inspired people, and new ideas come so easily to them. And sometimes other people around them may be surprised, like, where do you even get all those ideas from? It just comes to them because they are just so naturally creative, and they have, this access to inspiration. Because Purvashada Nakshatra is presided by the goddess of waters, Apadevi, Purvashada natives, they actually like to look at everything holistically. They always like to see the bigger picture. So they are often quite actively interested in how this or that impacts bigger group of people, how it impacts entire society. They are genuinely interested in those things. And they always like to combine things together, same like water binds everything together and brings everything together, rather than divide things. Again, sometimes it may take an unhealthy approach. Sometimes it may take a little different, I would say, facet or a little different role of trying to convince as large group of people as possible to follow exact lifestyle they want. You can actually see that type of fanaticism sometimes with Purvashada Nakshatra. Once they strongly believe into something, they want to change the whole world, into their image or into whatever they are believing. So of course that part is not so healthy, and it's something to look into. But other than that, this holistic approach is a really beautiful thing, because ultimately, water element is all about connection. It seeks connection. It wants to connect things, not divide them, and to seek the underlying unity beneath all things. So that's Purvashada Nakshatra, ruled by Apadevi and goddess Saraswati herself. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. And of course, if you would like to learn more about Purvashada Nakshatra, in the link below, you will see there is also the link to the entire long Nakshatra course, and also specific class dedicated to Purvashada Nakshatra. So I'll see you next time for the next video, which will be Uttarashada Nakshatra. Namaste.